Hey guys, hey, happy Thursday. Can you believe it's Thursday again? I feel like the weeks are passing rapidly. I feel like they are. I don't know. Maybe you guys feel that way too. If you do, leave a comment and let me know. Hi, my name is Olivia Thomas, the founder of Intentional and the Busy Girls Brunch, here with another Flourish Talks, ready to talk to you and another amazing female boss who's just here to give you all the information about how to be better in business and life, right? So we're all here to flourish together, and I'm excited to facilitate these talks for you and for me, frankly. We're all in this together. So today we're talking to Nia Jackson, the creator of the mind setting method, right? So when I met Nia, I think it was maybe 4 years ago. We met at a co-working event where you come, you co-work for the day, and just have a good time, meet new people. It was great. Um, and we just kind of connected afterward. Like I really liked her. So I don't think we spoke too much during the event. We just kind of introduced ourselves. But there was something about like just the spirit that emanated from her. It was very calm and very knowing that I really enjoyed. So I wanted to connect with her afterwards. Later, we talked about law because that's what she was into, and just kind of who she was. And I was correct in my assumption. She's just very calm and very much dedicated to whatever she's putting herself into. So I just loved that. And unfortunately, we didn't keep in touch. But this year, we got back in touch. So I am super happy to introduce you guys to Nia Jackson. Nia, hi, lady. Oh no, wait, I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Ah, I was trying to make sure I was like extra quiet
I love it.
and I forgot to unmute. Sorry.
You were prepared. You went all in.
Yes. I was like, let me make
I
sure I
love
don't
it.
disturb anything. But yes, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's a Thursday. I'm alive. And, my little corner of the world is relatively well. So that's,
Great. Winning. I like it.
yeah.
So I gave my little introduction of you. Please, you tell us who you are.
So, yeah, my name is Nia Jackson. I am a lawyer by trade, technicality, but I always give the caveat that I am a lawyer because of the way that I naturally am, the way that I think. My brain has always been analytical and very logical and very into all the words of everything. So I was like, all right, we'll do that. But I am passionate about, and I now know that I am assigned to be a mindset coach to Christian entrepreneurs. And I'm the founder of the mindsetting method. And, God gave me that because I needed to get my own mind right and, kind of struggle through a few things. And of course, you ask God for something, you pray, everything seems to go okay. And then you go back to Him with Thanksgiving, and He's like, well, guess what? And guess what you're going to do? And I was like, no. So, long story short, here we are because He gave me this assignment, and I had to bring it to the rest of the world because it was so transformational for me. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell. I live in New York, Southern girl by birth. Rep Houston and New Orleans all day, every day. But I live in New York now. So yeah.
Awesome. So far from home. Houston and New Orleans to New York is like so far, bro.
I mean, yeah, but I don't know. Like my mom and her sister, I grew up with my aunt and my uncle that raised me. And my mom and my sister and her sister, they both left home. So like at 18, my mother was living in Alaska in the military. And it's like, so I think it's in my blood. My aunt that raised me, she missed her grandfather's funeral because she was traveling abroad. I missed my grandfather's funeral because I was traveling abroad. And so I don't know. It's just in me. It's just in me. And I would prefer to be fast paced than to be slow paced. Like you can always slow down, but it's very difficult to speed up. So
I I understand completely. I understand completely. So the mind setting method. So obviously it was downloaded into you through trials and tribulations.
Yeah.
Can you explain what it is?
So, oh, okay. So the mindsetting method is a self-awareness tool. That's the simple way, right? It's a self-awareness tool, but it's also a discipleship journey. It's a process that will teach you how to stay in control of your mind. You know, we talk about having mindset shifts. And
Mhm.
the thing about the mindsetting method is that if you learn to set your mind, you won't have to keep shifting your mind over and over and over and over.
Hmm.
So it is a process that you can use to direct your thoughts where you want them to go so that your actions can align with the outcome that you want to have, because that's the disconnect between so many people is the issue.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
I love that. I love that. I feel like we talk about I don't remember. I don't know when she wrote the book. Carol Dweck, the mindset book. We're talking about the growth mindset
Mhm.
and the fixed mindset.
Yes.
We talk about that a lot, where it's like growth, but I don't think. I mean, unless you've like read the book, really, you kind of go more into what a growth mindset looks like. So I love the idea of kind of creating creating a pattern for your mind. Is that kind of what it is?
So I wouldn't even say it's a pattern. So here's the thing, right? Mindset as a concept, really came around being popular, maybe, like at some point when Oprah was still on TV with her show, right? Like it was something that she really ushered into American homes. And it's like, okay, this is something that we have to think about and really pay attention to. And so I think people began to say, like, oh, I want to have a healthy mindset. I want to have the right mind. I think we started off with right
Yeah.
mindset, right? And then it was like, I want to have a healthy mindset. And then I want to have a success mindset, and then I want to have a financial freedom mindset. And it's like, well, to get all those types of mindset, you need to have a growth mindset as opposed to a fixed mindset. And even as I was hearing them years ago, before I knew God was going to give me this, like none of that ever really sat with me. Because remember, I'm the wordsmith of it all, right? Like I'm always, looking at things from that perspective. And it's like, okay, so if you have a growth mindset, Olivia, can I have a growth mindset also?
Mm-hmm.
Because I want what you have. I love your own scarf. I have one, but I like the way yours has a little bit of white in it. Mine is solid. So I want yours.
Right.
So if I take yours, now you're without the growth mindset. Like, is there enough growth mindset to go around? Because I'm really trying to level up like you. So if I get yours, what happens to yours?
That's interesting.
Like that's where my brain went. And so it's like, okay, so then let's just go back to basics. I always people laugh at me because I'm always just like, okay, well, what does that word actually mean?
Yeah.
And mindset is actually a noun. It's a way of thinking. It's with it being a noun, it's essentially something that you can possess, right? It's a concept that you hold or whatever. And so my thought is like, maybe that's the reason why not everybody has a growth mindset. It's because it's like this fixed thing. It's like, okay, here's my water. Try to get through 2.5 of these a day. And it's like, if I have it, you can't have it, right? And so I never really liked that because I was like, well, maybe that's part of the reason why people can't seem to get right. We like can't get right from life when it comes to mindset. And, everybody struggles with it. And then also maybe that's the reason why when people think that they found this new mindset that they can't sustain it because it's really not yours.
Hmm.
You found a mindset that you saw modeled by another human being who led a completely different life, who had gone through totally different stuff. Maybe it was similar, but it still wasn't your exact life. And you were like, I want to think like them. But you haven't been through what they've been through. You haven't learned what they've learned. You haven't traveled the road that they've traveled. But yet you want your mind to appear like them. You want your mind to be set on what their mind is set on.
Yeah.
But you haven't traveled that road. And so for me, I was literally in this conversation and I was having this sort of um, part transformation, but also an awakening, kind of after God answered my prayer for productivity and focus and, removing the stagnation, taking the darkness out of my life. When he answered that question for me and had me do what has become part of the mindsetting method, I
Mhm.
started asking all these questions. And I was having this conversation with one of my good girlfriends who will just listen. And and it came to me that the reason why this doesn't sit well with me is because it lacks action,
Mm.
because a noun is an inanimate thing. It can't be active on its own. It can't wake up and be kinetic,
Yeah.
like, so mindset can't just magically activate on its own. And so in that moment, another download came, and it was like, it was because mindset is not a verb, there's no action. And so you need to be setting your mind continuously, like Romans 12:2, renewing your mind on a daily basis.
Yeah.
That's what the word tells us to do. And so you need to set your mind on particular things over and over and over again in order to develop a pattern.
Yeah.
So the mindsetting method is built on that difference between mindset, the noun, and mindsetting, it is a verb. It is instead of mindset is the tool, and
Mhm.
mindsetting is the activation of that tool. It's the
All right.
use of it. It's the preparation of it so that you can deploy it at the right time in the right place when you need it, even as your life continues to evolve.
So
I
much.
told you that was a much longer answer.
No, it was great. It was great. Yeah, like it's funny. I was reading something last night about uh values, like values being a noun, and they have to have action in order to have value. Huh. Um, and that's pretty much the same thing you're saying. It's just like, yeah, we can have this mindset, like this idea of of what we want to create and who we want to be and things that we've seen and all those different things. But if there's no repetitive and consistent action behind it, A, do you have the mindset, and B, can you maintain the mindset? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, those are definitely the questions that I'm asking. Like the way that we have been taught um is clearly not serving us well, right? Because, like, what's the entrepreneurial journey like traditionally, even mine included, right? It's like, okay, I was raised, my aunt and my uncle are entrepreneurs. Like, growing up in the house, I moved to live with them when I was 9. So there was literally no time in my life that I knew them where they reported to somebody's job. Like, every single day they woke up, and if they wanted to move slow, they moved slow. If they wanted to take their time getting to their office, they would. It was literally up to them and what they wanted to be able to bring into the home. So I figured, I was raised by two entrepreneurs. I got an MBA before I went to law school. I was like, I can do this. I can do this.
Thing.
My family's telling me I can do this. I got all the stuff the world says I should have, so I can do this clearly. Yeah. So then you start, right? And then entrepreneurship.
That part.
I always say that entrepreneurship is a journey of self discovery in disguise. Um, and so things start happening, and things then don't happen, and you wonder, why aren't things happening? I'm doing everything that they say I should be doing, right?
Yeah.
And you go through this process, and you try every tip, trick, tool, skill, system, process, whatever course, some of which you don't finish, and and then you wonder why you spent all this money. You've made just a little bit, and you wonder why you haven't gotten anywhere.
Yeah.
And then either you figure out, or someone comes along and says, well, you have a mindset issue. Your mind's just not really in it. It's like, no, I wanted this. Excuse me. Like, my mind has been in it the whole time. Thank you very much. But whatever, like, you say, okay, well, let me try this mindset stuff. And then it's like, you start hearing things that make sense, as like shifting your perspective and, adjusting your approach and being more positive. And when you're in that bubble of that course or in that bubble of that one-on-one session with your coach or whatever, it all makes sense. And then when you step out and you go to the real world and your husband, makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up because he's annoyed you so much, you can't think positive anymore. Like I'm saying that because I don't even have a husband, but my boyfriend annoys me sometimes. But like the children might, aggravate you or like just all the foolery of the world,
Yeah.
like that's going on, and you wonder, okay, how do I maintain all this roses and flowery stuff that this coach gave me?
Yeah.
And that's not even to address whether or not the coach has lived a life experience similar to yours.
Right.
You know, like, some if a coach is not walking through this world as a black woman, for me, you're only gonna be able to take me but so far.
Yeah.
If you didn't grow up in the South and you don't have blood running through your veins where generations upon generations upon generations have been called the N-word, like you don't really know where I'm coming from all the time. You don't really understand all the layers of perspective that I need to shift to be able to show up like you, right? Or to show up with this, positive. And so when you get into the process of working with that person, and you try to think things through and you try to maintain it, when you step into the real world, it's like I can't maintain that because I got my own problems, my
Mhm.
own frustration,
Mhm.
my own perspectives that we didn't address in this mindset course that was 9 times out of 10 taught by this person that doesn't look like you or doesn't understand your life experiences. And now you're like, okay, well, how do I deal with this in the real world? And the mindsetting method doesn't start at the same point where most mindset programs start.
Hmm.
We focus on who you are. We
Yeah.
focus on how you show up on a daily basis. We focus on what is your root issue that you are bringing to the table that you don't even know you're bringing to the table because it's actually brought to the table by 2 or 3 generations before you, and you're just carrying it because you never inspected the baggage that you had. We start there because it's stuff like that that holds us all back.
Yeah. I
So
love it.
it's difficult to even begin to think about it from a perspective of routines because it's not even really about routines. It's more about unpacking the
Mhm.
stuff that's there. Traditional mindset conversation is about do more of this, do more of this. And I say that the seed that God has already planted within you is more than enough. You don't need to do more of anything else in the world. You need to be more of who you were intended to be, who you were purposed to be and created to be. You need to get clear on who that is. And if you can flourish in being who that person is, then you will be able to be prosperous, successful based on all your own definitions.
I love it. You said one of my favorite words ever, flourish. Like I love that. I love that so much. And you're right, right? Like a lot of personal development like mindset work doesn't it has a lot of the objective stuff of yeah, a lot of the objective stuff where it's just like,
Mhm.
do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. But
And
like
then ta-da!
ta-da, like it doesn't work like that because it's all outside of context.
It's isolated.
Yeah.
And you don't live in isolation. I mean,
Mhm.
well, we kind of do right now. Just a little bit. A little bit. We're getting back to some level of, decreased isolation. But that's not life.
Right.
And if it were, you probably wouldn't need mindset work because it's just you by yourself.
Right. That's a,
If we
that's a
lived in a
point.
world by ourselves, it's like why do we need to shift our minds if it's just me? I think I'm
Man,
great.
I'm amazing. Like, all by myself inside my room, not leaving. I'm great.
Right. You and your world are usually we are all usually fine with how we think stuff should go.
Yeah.
It's when other people get involved in the stuff that it becomes problematic.
There you go. That's a
So
key. Yeah.
operating in, yeah, the isolation, it doesn't work.
the even the idea of like being problematic, right? Like I think a lot of people who are problematic, especially kind of in the internet age, are so because they're not thinking outside of their immediate context.
Mm-hmm.
They're like they're like in my bubble. Like everything I'm saying is absolutely normal and like whatever, but like outside in the grand scheme of the macrocosm, it's just like you have to interact with other people. So I think even the use of the word problematic in that instance is funny. Like it's cool.
Yeah. So I mean, and it's tough to really acknowledge that in today's world because we see so much of other people's bubbles, right? Like it's hard to remember that you and your perspective are like one in what 4 or 5 billion people or whatever it is on this planet. It's like you're not the only person that matters in all of this.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the way that you think and the way that you approach a problem is it's unique, but it's not the only way that's possible. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of people like approaching our issues from the perspective of all we have to do is
Right.
all we have to do is this other thing is really doing us a disservice
Yeah.
because nobody like the same way we say no people aren't born racist, people aren't born hating other people. It's like no, that dude that you see going crazy, in the at the protest or whatever, the counter protester is 40 something years old. It took him 40 something years to build up this level of hatred and bigotry or whatever. So you think this is going to change overnight because you just
Yeah.
shift his mindset and you tell him that black people are human too? Like logically, just be logical. If 40 years of hatred were poured into a human being, like why would that just evaporate overnight?
Yeah. That's so real.
And we've seen
I
that.
think uh,
Now go ahead.
the so as a believer, right?
Hmm.
Um, like the idea of all you have to do is, and then you get a result. I feel like that's kind of common vernacular. Even if we don't necessarily say it like that, it's just like do this and then that. And it all seems like mad simple. like like belief is simple, and and um, it's really not. It's actually very much not simple at all. So I mean, like how does this kind of take that into account? Because I know, you said it was something that kind of came to you in your walk, right? So like, how does it kind of take I'm gonna say biblical ignorance. How does it kind of take that into account?
So it takes it into account by saying what you just said, that all of that is biblical ignorance. Um, by calling it what it really is. Um, so let me just say this first. Before God gave me the mindsetting method, I was not a what I would call a holy roller, Bible thumping, Christian. Like, yeah, I was born in the Bible Belt, but my parents didn't go to church. When I got down south, we get licenses very young. So I was like 15. I'm driving myself to church because I wanted to go to church, right? Like and literally would leave my parents at home and be like, "Can I have the keys to the car? I'm going to church." Like, even then, I knew that was strange, but I also knew that they weren't gonna come with me. So it was gonna be what it was gonna be. Um, so I was saved at 15, but like most 15-year-olds, it's like, well, I'm still gonna do what I want
I'm
to do.
sorry, Nia. Did you say you were 15 taking the car?
Yeah, but I had a license.
Oh,
No, I
wait,
wasn't stealing the car.
like 25?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. thing down south. We don't do this 18-year-old gotta learn this permit stuff y'all do up here up north. I don't understand that.
Ma'am, it's 16, first of all. And secondly,
Now,
okay,
especially in PA, in New York, it's like 18, and I'm like, how do you expect people to
it's
survive?
New York.
Like,
New
I'm
York,
living.
driving in New York is different. You need some maturity.
Well, the people that still driving ain't that doggone mature, but okay.
I,
No, but seriously, when I started high school, you could um my birthday's in January. So I
mhm.
literally missed the cutoff by because my birthday wasn't before December 31st. So people that I started high school with drove themselves to school on the first day of school at 14 years
Oh,
old.
wow.
But no, but it was, excuse me, they had already turned 15. So they turned 15 like sometime, during the summer or the fall. I don't know when they got enrolled. That's not my business. But they came to school driving themselves to school because they were already 15 in the ninth grade. Um,
That is cool.
but yeah, so the legal age was 15 in New Orleans.
Sorry, I digress. Or you
That's
digress.
okay. So I was saying that to say, I got saved because I was like, okay, well, I'm here for not being a horrible person. Like that's like what does a 15-year-old really know that doesn't grow up in the church, right? Like what do they really think salvation is? Like you at 15 you almost think that you're never even gonna die, right? Like you depending on your environment, obviously, like depending on what you've seen. But so I say this to say that I wasn't walking with God. Like in 2018, from 15 to 2018, I probably would only see the inside of a church if somebody got married or died, right? Like let's like it's a good like 15 years or so, right? But by 2018, I had been trying to, create my own profitable coaching business. I had moved from generalized life coaching to career coaching for young, intelligent Black women who had primarily gone to PWCs and PWIs, and which is where I went. So I'm like, yeah, another reason why we vibe. So I'm like, let me school them because they're gonna get out here and they're gonna be highly upset. So let me, support them, and that was good, and I was very, based on the reviews, very helpful to a few young women. But I was just like, this really isn't one, it's not fulfilling me, and two, even though it's nice to see somebody succeed and like learn something new, it just wasn't resonating and it wasn't growing, right? And
Yeah.
so I was really just trying hard. um I had gotten a new job, and I was feeling exhausted, and I was feeling like I was being pulled from all different ends. And so I was like, well, let me remember that God thing. That's kind of like what it was. Let me find a church. I've been living in New York at this point almost 10 years. Let me try and find a church again. Because every single time I would go to one, it was like fire and brimstone. It was like very Nigerian or very Kenyan. And I'm like, me and my people go back to Texas and Louisiana to the ship. So I don't know, I've only been to South Africa. I haven't been to any other African countries. So like all of these extra cultural nuances are not helping me. They're really impeding me from really understanding, the word of God.
Yeah.
And even, like some of the heavily Caribbean churches, I'm just like, I just want somebody's grandma who's from below the Mason-Dixon line to just be running this church, right? So eventually I went to this event. Long story short, I found a church, top of 2018. And of course, that's when the devil started to show up and show out. I believe it was the devil now, but I maybe it wasn't. Maybe God wanted me to realize that I had put him on my plate last. I'd added him to my Thanksgiving plate, like the potato salad you squeeze on the end of the roll, you just pop on the top, and you're just trying to like scoot him on. And it's like you can't put God on last, right? So everything started really getting for me the darkest that my life had ever been, because I was like, why is this not working? I quit a job to thinking that I was just going to start this business. And I didn't like the job, right? It was all perspective, but I didn't like the job. I quit a well paying job, short commute, all the things that you would want, especially now. But I was literally slowly dying inside. Quit it to start this business. The business never took off. Got another job. Now I'm just, the commute is long. I'm exhausted, almost delirious. And so I just started getting really, really, really depressed. But at the same time, I had fight in me, like I was talking to one of my good girlfriend, the same good girlfriend. She's a preacher's kid. I'm like, yo, you gotta like help me through this. And I'm like, how you gonna be a preacher's kid and you gonna tell me I don't really know what you're gonna do, friend. I was like, no, like you are supposed to be the subject matter expert here. Like
Word.
you're yeah, bring like don't you know how to bring the word? Like, come on. Like your father still preaches. It ain't even like he preached back then. Like he still preaches.
That's hilarious.
Um
Pressure.
and yeah, I'm like, I'm counting on you. Even though she had never been like that. So I don't know why I was thinking she was gonna be like that.
Oh, poor
And
PK.
so yeah, so one night my church had this service called Midnight Prayer. And I remember I had heard about it maybe like they have it twice a year. So I'd heard about it like 6 months prior. And I was just like, wait a minute, wait. Somebody was like, are you coming? And I was like, I'm sorry, am I coming to what? Am I coming where? They were like, midnight prayer. I was like, prayer all night? The whole night? And they were like, well, it starts at like, 11:30. And I was like, and when does it end? And they were like 6. And I was like,
In the morning?
and then I'm thinking to myself, this church is in Brooklyn. I'm like, I live in Long Island. I'm like, you can hear crickets. Like y'all be in Brooklyn without somebody who lives in Brooklyn by myself.
Okay.
Midnight to 6 a.m. I was like, for prayer?
That's
I,
a
I
commitment.
I don't even think I done prayed 10 minutes straight. 10 minutes seemed long. I was like, how are we gonna? And then I was like, well, what day of the week is it? Friday. After a whole work week, I'm like, I did exactly what you did to this young woman. And she only reason why I let the faces go is because she was my age. But if it had been a mother or somebody, I would have like tried to keep it together. But I was just like, nah, I don't think I'm gonna make it. That was in like March. I was like, I don't think I'll make that. And then of course, that summer and early fall was when things got really, really dark. I mean, like I was afraid. Like I was starting to ask questions of like, is anybody gonna miss me? And I'm like, see, I don't want to, but at the same time, I don't have very much fight left in me, right? Like I could be honest with myself.
Yeah, it happens.
And so when it came around November 2nd, 2018, midnight prayer, and I heard about it like weeks in advance. I was like, okay, no, you need to get your tail to this doggone midnight prayer. Even if all you do is just sit in the building, even if you happen to fall asleep, you need to be somewhere around some level of anointing because you ain't rocking it by yourself. Like, and do you know, because it was the end of a work week, I ended up falling. I called myself wanting to get home 6:30, 7 o'clock, eat whatever, maybe go to bed by like 8 o'clock. So I could be up by 11, shower, and get there by 11:30. Child, do you know I stayed up till like quarter to 10? I could not fall asleep. I was like, this is worrisome. Anyway, so I get to midnight prayer, and prior to that, I had never heard from God, like heard from God or anything.
Yeah.
And people would be like, well, what does God tell you need to do? And I was like, who's talking to him? Like who? I like all. I'm telling you, this is so. There's been a transformation. Y'all see me now, and I'm like, well, I got this download. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2.5 years ago, I'd be like, no, I got nothing. But walked in. They had already prayed. They had just started singing. I don't even know what the song was, but when I tell you the song was singing my emotions, I was just like, okay. And it was so on point that I wasn't even able to be caught up in it. And then the praise and worship leader, she was like, if the song is speaking to you, come to the front. And I'm like, I could just stay in my seat, be cool. And get to the front, and I'm like, all right, I can't stay in my seat because she said it again. And like literally, I was feeling heaviness on my heart,
Mm.
like physical, like weight. And so I said, okay, I go to the front. Do you know, Olivia, when I tell you, I got up there, I went from hearing the words of the song to hearing nothing, and then hearing, you don't have to carry all that, right? And it didn't, I mean, it was in a male voice, deeper voice. And I was just, I literally had the same reaction you had.
Right.
Literally had the same reaction. I'm like, huh? Excuse me? And I literally open my eyes, I look around, everybody's still in worship. Like, like nothing changed around me. And I'm just like, okay, all right. And for once in my life, I asked no questions. I was like, bet, you got it, take it. Cause I wasn't gonna keep that joker much longer. I knew that. I knew that. And said, okay, you got it. And then stayed there for the whole service and whole, ceremony, whatever. They had breakfast at 6 o'clock in the morning, went home, fell asleep, woke up, and I was like, okay, so here we go back with the practicality, right? Like we talk about mindset. Like when you're in that space and you're in that bubble, everything seems perfect. Literally woke up, I had my big girl panties on. I was like, okay, so what are we doing? Like what's really good?
Doing
Like how are we actually going to change? And he spoke again. He said, grab a notebook and answer these questions. And those questions ended up being the daily thought work that's part of the mindsetting method. And 3 days later, I was like, productivity what? Focus who? I was like, I'm getting all these people's work done. And I'm like, wait, I'm trying to run a business or something. Like I'm remembering the things that, I had been trying to do that I wasn't doing well at. And just went back to God in prayer, and I was just like, thank you for this, because at least I feel like positive during the day, and I don't feel downtrodden, and I don't feel like I've been run over by a bus. I was just happy to feel good. And he said, that's great. Now you need to tell everybody. I'm sorry. Who you mean everybody? Like my friend, my boyfriend, like my mom and them.
like
And it's like no, you need to tell everybody, and you know how you need to do it. And I had already years ago said I need to write a book, I need to do this and that, I want to be able to speak on stages. Like I'd already said all this stuff, had no clue. And so from that point on, I just started knowing when he was speaking to me, when he was downloading. There would be times I would sit in front of the computer and I would start writing stuff, and it would be literally stuff that I had never thought, and it would be speaking to me as I was typing. So that's how we got to this point of the mindset method. So it's not even like I totally believe that he is transforming me as I pour out into the world.
yeah.
So it's not even really like I say all that to say he has poured into me a criticism of the way he is portrayed in the church. And he's placed me in a church where one of the first things that my pastor said that I remember was that religion is not the most important thing to him. So you know me, I'm like, I'm in the seat, and I'm like, oh, well, okay, pastor, and people around me didn't flinch. So I was like, okay, this must be how you roll. So let's hear it, And he said, religion is not the most important thing to me. The most important thing to me is my relationship with God. He said, religion is man. Religion is rules and rituals, traditions, cultural expectations, habits, all of that kind of stuff. And so for me, the most important thing is my relationship with God. And I do what he tells me to do. I don't do all this religiosity that comes from man that has no foundation in the actual word of God. So from that point, I was hooked. And then when it started to come into the process of writing and of coaching and of teaching this to other people, it's a tenet. It's very, very important. So I'm not teaching people to you know, carry out these expectations of the world, including the church world. And what I am encouraging people to do is the same thing that my pastor said, the same thing that I've done in my life, is to seek God for themselves and to focus on building a relationship with God themselves, and not on the religion, the rituals, the rules, the requirements that we've been told that we have to fulfill. That when you go to look for them in the Bible, they are actually not there. And that's because they are from man. So there's no so so the way that faith is really woven into the mindsetting method is that I believe that when you are clear on God's, when you're on a journey to find and understand God's purpose for your life, not only will you be assigned to serve certain people, but you will be fulfilled at the same time. Like, God is not going to purpose you to do something that's going to deplete you inherently. Like, he's going to purpose you to do something that's going to fulfill you, prosper you, and generations to come. Like, all the joy and the prosperity and the accolades that we've been taught are mutually exclusive from holiness in the church are not actually biblical.
Mm.
So, I could keep talking and talking about myself, but that's so yeah. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's where I stand in a very long answer on, the faith component of it all, is that I want people to seek God for themselves.
Yeah.
And that's what the mindsetting method teaches you how to do. Well, one of the things it teaches you how to do.
Right, one of the things. No, I absolutely love it. I think you're going to midnight prayer, and then your next morning is something that like super resonates with me, right? Because like, we pray, we cry, we tarry for deliverance, and deliverance has always been like a very big like Christianese buzzword, where it's like it's the name of churches, it's like it's the goal, and it's just like it's really not though. And I think one of the big things, and I think we talked about this too, I think one of the big things that like hit me really hard either this year or last year is like, sometimes deliverance is understanding that there is a problem, or that you have options, and then there's the discipline of actually like following through on on like what to do next, and like, there's a plan obviously, so like how do you work the plan, you know
I think a lot of people, I agree with you, but the part that I think people leave out is the uprooting of the problem and the dismantling of the limiting beliefs that support and attach to the problem. Because you can identify the problem and then say, all right, well, that's problematic. Let me build a process or a plan that doesn't feed into that.
yeah
And then you have to use discipline, willpower, every Hail Mary, every kind of situation to execute this plan, because that problem is still there. You didn't uproot it. You just saw it for what it was, but you let it live.
yeah
And the limiting beliefs that continue to nourish that problem and feed it and water it and support it, those are still there too. And traditional mindset work doesn't talk about any of that.
right yeah
Like, you might stumble upon like one, oh, well, that's the limiting belief that you don't think you can make money because nobody in your family's ever been a six-figure earner. Okay. Person who has a trust fund. Okay. Yeah, sure. It's a limiting belief. Like, no, okay. Like, this basic. You don't even really have to know me that well to know that, that's a limiting belief, right?
right
But really learning how to recognize the layers of the problem and the layers of the limiting beliefs and dispelling them.
Mm.
That is part of the mindsetting method, because, and that's the reason why I say that if you learn how to set your mind, you won't have to keep shifting it, shifting your mindset, because the mindsetting method teaches you how to do all of that and guides you through the process of undoing all of that stuff. So you know that you have uprooted this entire tree from the roots. You're not just chopping off branches. You're not just chopping it to the point where it's a stump and it can still grow back. You have dug it out completely and you've dispelled the limiting beliefs
Awesome.
and replaced them with the truth of God's word.
Replace them. Awesome.
So now you have some real ammunition as opposed to, whatever people told you when you grew up. And you're not replacing it, is the other thing. And going back to the faith component you were talking about earlier, it's like you're not replacing them with how you were taught to believe before, the
Yeah.
religiosity of it all. You're not replacing it with your grandmama's faith, big mama's faith, your mama's faith. No, you're replacing it with your own understanding of who God has told you he is. Because, like, seriously, like, how are you gonna actually be out here, David and your Goliath, slaying dragons, doing all the thing? Everybody want to be a Khaleesi. Well, how you gonna be a Khaleesi? How are you gonna? I hate to bring the mythical into the conversation, but how are you gonna be the next Myleik, the next Maddie James, the next Danielle Leslie? How are you gonna be these multi-million dollar earners and high level impact women if you're out here standing on somebody else's belief, what somebody else told you? Like, it doesn't work. These women that we all herald, they have done the work. They have read the books for themselves. They have walked down those paths for themselves. They're not doing anything based on what somebody else told them. And if they do, on the off chance, they know that person actually did it.
Yeah.
So often in the Black community, we do stuff or we don't do stuff because you remember cousin Ray Ray that ain't nobody met and haven't seen at the last family reunion 2 generations removed. So something happened to them and you don't even know them.
Yeah.
And now everybody in your family thinks, okay, but you can't do that, or you can only do so much. And it's like that's that's not the way that a millionaire thinks. That's not even the way Jesus thought. He wasn't listening to what everybody says. Like when he would quote the word, "I'm about my father's business," he had one guiding light, and he knew it forward and backwards. But even though he knew who he was, he still sought God every morning before the rest of the world woke up. So why do we think we can just go to church on Sunday and that's it? Or just read like one devotional? We do a little 3-day devotional. We read like 7 minutes, and it's like, okay, I got my faith going. I'm just going. And you really think that's gonna do something for you? I'm sorry. I was like, I look. I talk to myself like this. Like when I read the Bible, I literally be hearing my God just like read me for filth. Being like, you need to read that again.
Like, oh, you thought you were just gonna sit here and just read.
But you know, the the thing that I think the reason why I go so hard is because I know that Black women, especially millennial and Gen Z Black women, are some of the most overly educated people. We all know that if you want something to be done well and efficiently and properly, you need to hire a Black woman to do it. Like that's just the bottom line. And she can do it in her sleep. She can do it with a couple of babies on her hip. And all you need to do is make sure her check is in full and on time, and you'll have her. Right? Okay. So if that's true, why are we showing up as entrepreneurs who just want the blueprint and only want to execute the blueprint that somebody else gives us? if that's true, why do we not stay out here trying to learn it all for ourselves? Like we're willing to do that when it comes to the standard system, when it comes to education, when it comes to parenting, when it comes to I should get married. Like we'll fit into the regular system. The things that our parents have told us we can have access to, the things that this systematically unjust country has told us we can have access to. But it hasn't expressly told us we can have access to entrepreneurship. And it hasn't but the women who have figured it out, they're trying to tell us you need to learn it for yourself, you need to experience it for yourself, you need to try and try and try again. And every single person that's out here, every single Black woman that's out here being successful, the key to her success has been her increased self-awareness. None of these people have any misgivings about who they are and where their shortcomings are. They are all very clear on that. So how are we expecting it to be any different for us? It's not going to be different.
I feel a little bit red. Not gonna lie. Nia.
Look, I might as well be speaking in the mirror. I love that he asked me to say it because I like repetition, so I get to hear it all the time and
Right.
continue to level my own self up.
You get to speak into your own life. Yo, I love
Mm-hmm.
that. I love that. Like self awareness meets destroying limiting beliefs and action. Yeah, that's huge. Because like even if you're self aware, but you don't. So my thing is, I'm ridiculously self aware. Like I am aware, right? Like I'm the kid that's been journaling since I could write. So I can definitely say like this is happening, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. But like sometimes the limiting beliefs, right? Those resprout.
They're like weeds.
They're like weeds. And it changes the action that comes even after the self awareness. Because it's like, I get it, this is happening. But yeah.
And that is what, and so that's why I get hyped. And I know that that's why he gave me the mindsetting method and not necessarily the next person. Because I've always found that to be problematic. In all coaching programs that start with a mindsetting module, a mindset module, and it's like we're just talking about the surface. We are not talking about getting rid of the thoughts that led me to this point in my life to begin with. You're just
Mm,
trying to shift me to another point. As long as I still unconsciously believe those things are true,
mm,
I'm not going to be free.
yeah.
So this is like as I see it, this is a process for any entrepreneur, really, like any entrepreneur. Um, but I'm passionate about teaching it to women that look like me. And I'm partial because I want us to win because we haven't won in this area as much as other demographics. But this is why it's so important because this is the piece that's missing from us.
Yeah.
We got all the other stuff. We got the beauty, the brains, like everything else. But we have not disconnected ourselves from the things that are holding us back.
Awesome. Awesome. Ah, okay. So we're gonna have to come back and talk about this more because I enjoy this super duper. So how are you taking care of yourself right now in the realm of this new COVID world that we're living in, and now we got elections coming up, and there's just like, or the election, or elections
Yeah,
coming up,
bro,
and there's just
bro.
like a lot happening. So like, how are you maintaining yourself right
Well, this surface level simple things. Well, I won't say surface level, but the level one simple things is I haven't watched the news with the exception of like debates and election results since I was like 14 or 15 years old. Um, like I just don't see the point. I can get it online. I can skim the heading, and I can know whether or not I want to do that. I also have not watched any police interaction videos police interaction videos since Walter Scott was murdered in 2015.
now?
Um, so I don't do that. Um, if I know that it's going to be a video of that sort, I will click on the link, press pause and just skim down and read the story. And I've gotten to the point where I no longer read all the stories because they have, descriptions of what happens in the video.
Vivid.
So I do everything to, when it comes to that kind of stuff, to protect my mental space because I have been known to have vivid dreams. Um, some of the women in my family, let's just say I've had dreams that I've dreamt and then actually physically experienced. So I don't like to feed into that because it scares me and makes me nervous. So that's the level one stuff. The level two stuff is I am consistent with my mindset work.
Mm.
I am consistent with setting my thoughts every day and literally telling my mind, body, and spirit, this is what level we're going to be on today. This is how we are showing up today. This is what we are doing today.
Yeah.
We're not letting tiredness run us out. We're not letting fear run us out. And we're not letting other people's foolery and effery is another word,
Right.
the other F word that sometimes makes us excited. We're not letting any of that, you know, disrupt what we have going on. So I literally am in that space every morning before I encounter any other human being. And it's interesting because my boyfriend, and at the time when I was going through this, we didn't even live together. But um, sometimes we would stay over at each other's places, and he would see the difference in how I would be in a day, where I would wake up and I would grab my book and I would, open it up and I would do so. It's a part like journal, and I would do my mindset work, right? And I would literally be like a different person. So he wouldn't even touch that. So now that I wake up, before the sun has even come up, it's like, no, that's what she needs to do to be on the level that she wants to be on. And I low key love that level too. So this is where we're going to be.
Yeah.
And so the daily stuff includes, you know, waking up, um, reading the word. I use the U Version Bible app on my phone. But what I've done to make sure I don't get distracted by everything that's on my phone is I realized that the do not disturb is not just for, phone calls and text messages. The do not disturb, I have an Android. Don't crucify me or praise me if everybody's
Okay.
Android people.
That's funny.
But anyway, we'll have that conversation later. But there's a option to block out all notifications also. So from 9:30 p.m. until 7 a.m., I don't like the top of my phone. It just says the time. It says nothing else.
Amen.
So when I'm actually on my phone and I'm reading the Bible and I'm, whatever, I'll try to do like a annual devotional of the Bible, and not doing very well this year. Finished one last year. I'm not doing well this year, but I try to do different devotionals and stuff. And because I don't have those notifications of all the texts that I miss between like 9:30 and midnight when everybody else is still, up and around, I can focus on my word. Then I'll do like a little stretching, deep breathing. And then my new thing that I love is I literally just stand up and walk around, which helps me wake up. I stand up and walk around and I pray. And I just pray out loud. And I just pray for, 10, 15 minutes or whatever. So that's like my first hour. Um, and I do that every day. And it's like I never thought I'd be one of those people that's like, I enjoy waking up so early. Like I know that is so annoying. I don't even
Funny.
I don't even enjoy answering the question. But that's what I've been doing. And that has really been when I tell you it is sustaining me. I mean, it ain't nothing. Like it usually if you had asked to do this interview conversation 3 months ago on a Thursday night, I would have told you, I don't think that's gonna work. I don't think that's gonna work.
No,
Because
no.
literally, I have been trying to do things in my own strength,
Mm.
and by Thursday night, I was fading, like I couldn't do anything, like physically exhausted. But and that was with me only waking up, 5:30, 6:30, just as late as I needed to, wake up to be able to get dressed, grab some food, and halfway be on time. Um, And now it's like I've doubled down on the next level of my mindsetting practice. I've adjusted my mindsetting practice based on the goal that I want to have in my life, which is why I love the process that he gave me because it's something that you can continue to grow through. And I look forward to growing with it, when I get married and when I become a mother and all that kind of stuff. So I've decided to level up in my business and to really show up, you know, in the fullness of this business that he's given me and move it beyond just my church family. And that requires me to wake up, earlier. But he has strengthened me and empowered me. And it's also up here. Like I've told myself, this is what I'm doing. I believe in the assignment he has given me. I believe in the word of God. I I've disconnected from all these other limiting beliefs that were holding me
Mm.
back. So it's easier now. So, that's my real combo. And then I give myself a cheat meal. I'm not like on a diet, but like I give myself a meal where
Balance.
like, yeah, like balance, where it's like, no, you can do whatever you want. Like whatever your stomach can tolerate tonight, you can eat it. Like it could be fried, smothered, covered, everything. Like you can do that one meal. Um, and then like one complete night off where I just, you know, do whatever I want to do.
Awesome.
So I look forward to that. And then I tell myself, go hard for the rest of the week.
I love it. I love it. So this was an amazing conversation. I feel read to filth, um, but also extremely encouraged and kind of confirmed as well, on some things. So yay. Um, so anything you want to leave with the Busy Girls Brunch or anybody else who's going to watch this? Like, where can we find you? Like, let me not drop you.
Don't drive me now.
Don't get so excited that I drop you. Anything you want to leave with the
Okay.
crew?
Yeah, so I am on. You can find me on Facebook. The at is like at Mindsetting Method. The Facebook page is the Mindsetting Method with Nia Jackson. Um, and on Instagram, I am at Miss Nia Jackson. So it's just MSNIAJCKSON. And then you can always go to my website, startmindsetting.com. And I'm super, super, super excited about this. So if any of this mindsetting stuff, sounds interesting, resonated with you, I'm starting to do a bi-monthly free training on the importance of having a mindsetting practice. And so I'm going to be teaching about, why it's really important and what you can do to really start to shift your life into this space where you are sustained, you are getting clearer each and every day that you move forward, and just why it's super important. We touched base on some of it tonight, but as you said, there's definitely more to it. And so I'm looking forward to having that training. The first one is not this Saturday, but next Saturday, October 17th at 11 a.m. and then I'll have another one. So they're gonna be um, it's gonna be twice a month. So it'll be one Saturday and one Tuesday night every month. So
Awesome.
I'll give you the link, but
Please do.
we'll put that in the comments. Um, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that because I really want to. I love this stuff. I
Awesome.
really do.
Awesome. Any final words to live by?
Final words to live by.
Dun, dun, dun.
Mm, so the thing that's resonating the most with me right now is a quote from Malcolm X, and I put it on my Instagram a couple of days ago. It's that if you want to understand the flower, you have to study the seed. And I think that we as Christians, as human beings created by God, the same is true for us. And what I infer to that is that if you really want to understand how beautiful you can become and all the gloriousness and wonderfulness that you can have in your life, you need to really understand the seed that God planted within you.
Mm,
And that's going to require you to spend a lot more time getting to know who you are and getting to know who we purpose you to be. And the mindsetting method will help you do that. And once you do that, then you can give that seed exactly what it needs so that it can flourish and grow into what God always intended it to be.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Nia, you're kind of, sort of, very much amazing. Um,
Thank
we
you.
definitely need to have more conversations. And I, yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. This is so much fun. I'm
No,
super, super excited. I'm
let's
glad
do
that I
another
could
FaceTime.
reconnect with you and meet all of your busy girls brunching and all your women that are out here flourishing. So it's been fun.
Oh, yes. Flourishing. I love it. Thank you so much. I know, seriously, I'm really glad we reconnected. Like, this is good timing. But, ma'am, thank you.
You're welcome.
And please put that in the comment section, the thing you were talking about, whenever you get a chance, girl. You don't have to do it now. Just
Oh, well,
mhm.
I'll do it now. I'll do it now. I'll do it now. It's just bit.ly where I don't know if I can I comment?
I don't even know
How
what
do
it
I
is. You can go to
It's
busygirlsbrunch.com. Yeah,
okay, well I'll just say it here on the video. It's bit.ly slash start mindsetting.
perfect. I will put that
There
in
you
the comments. All right, ma'am. I will talk to you later.
go. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Woo. Okay. So I felt that in my heart. I'm so excited that we had Nia here with us talking about the mind setting method. It's so different when you kind of dig deep and really get into, you know, those very foundational things in order to put out into the world. So I'm so grateful for her work, for her revelation, and just like her willingness to kind of go in and really create something out of it. So again, thank you, Nia, for being here. Um, guys, once again, if you are a business owner or you're starting a business or you're thinking about business, feel free to grab the How Does It Make Money course because it's going to help you figure out what it looks like to actually make money in your business, create a business model that is, you know, it's there for you. And then eventually build out your business plan. These are things you need to have a successful business, to know your numbers, know your audience, and really know what you're going for at the end of the day. So I'll put that in the comments as well. Thank you so much for being here on a Thursday, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. All right, guys, have a flourishing week. Bye.